Yo guys, what is up and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review on another what if player. We're going to go through what if Daniel WASS. We're going to go through the card's details, stats, clips and summary. Before we get into all of that, if I could ask you guys to please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button and that bell so you know when I upload, and comment down below what your thoughts are on this card. And without further ado, let's get into the review. So guys, this is the team that I used Daniel WASS in. I played him in the 4-2-1 in that DM spot. I didn't really feel like moving him out of that spot as well. I felt like he was much more suited to a defensive role than an attacking role. He is a very good in-between as well to drive between that defense and attack. In general, I didn't feel like he was that great an attacking player. That was my overall first impressions. Without further ado though, let's just get into the review. Daniel WASS 5'11", high medium work rate, so favoured towards attacking, right-footed, 3-star skill moves and 3-star weak foot. So for me guys, a lot wrong with this card in terms of what he's able to do. The 4-star skill moves and 4-star weak foot mean that he's a little bit stiff and incapable on the ball as well. And the high medium work rates, especially when playing him either as a central midfielder or a defensive midfielder, means he does get forward a little more than you'd maybe like to. But it provided you have someone to cover in there. I don't feel like this is too much of an issue. I would prefer if it was medium or high. Overall, I think it's manageable with this card, guys. In terms of the details, I put a shadow on him as I didn't feel like his attacking side was good enough, even with an engine or a hawk on him or something like that. I didn't feel like it was good enough, so I decided to boost his defensive capability and help him out in that regard. In terms of the key attributes, guys, now overall guys, I would say this card is pretty decent stamina. He runs all game long, very good at that as well, and his set pieces are very good as well. Overall guys, in terms of when you look at his overall stats, especially across these stat categories here, you'll notice that there's nothing that's really stand out about this card. His passing is very good, his dribbling's okay. His pace is again okay, a bit of a letdown actually, one of the cons. We'll get into that shortly. His finishing is okay as well, and his physical is okay, and although this card is 80 plus in every stat category, I do just think at the moment this is just an okay card, and he does really need that boost to take him up to a card where you're like, okay, this is a serious game-changing player in my midfield. In terms of the cons, guys, getting straight into it, his agility and balance are a little low for me, as well as his dribbling. I feel like he's a little stiff on the ball and struggles a little bit with moving away or maneuvering away from opponents. And his speed as well is a little low, guys. I do think that acceleration and sprint speed are too low. Does definitely need a boost and a chemistry style focus on it as well, so that he reaches that 90 plus pace stat there as well. Overall, guys, though, I would say that in general, again, his finishing and composure are not the best, but I wasn't really using him in that regard. I used him more as a defensive player, and his defensive capability is pretty decent. So overall, guys, I think it's not too bad considering what you do get from this card, but I do think it could be a lot better, and with a boost it will be. In terms of player traits, he's got the solid player and the long shot taker trait, so those are both decent traits as well to have, especially from that deep playmaker position. He does drive forward as well with that high attacking work rate, so these really do come into play as well with the high press and taking shots from distance. Now that we've covered all of that, we're going to get into some of the clips that I got with him. So guys, getting through some of Daniel WASS's clips, and what you guys are going to see is his overall ability to play all parts of this game. Now in this first clip, guys, this actually summarizes exactly what you're able to do with this card. First of all, coming out with the interception, driving out of that defense, transitioning into the attack, putting the opponent on the back foot immediately, able to dribble with the ball, able to drive with the ball reasonably well, creating a good chance and getting a goal off of that. And that was generally the story with this card, guys. The one thing that I do want to talk about in terms of pros of this card is he is able to do a little bit of everything, and that's really nice to have in an all-around midfielder in La Liga, especially with all the linkability options you will have across La Liga. However, guys, I do want to get into a specific con of being reasonable at everything, is that he's just not excellent at anything, and that's something that is important, guys, because as you guys do play formations, unless you're playing the 4-4-2 where you have the go-between players, and a 4-4-2 is a very good formation to use this card in. I do feel like if you play any variant of a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 or a 4-5-1, you do need a player who's going to be a little bit better in terms of being a specialist at one thing rather than being a jack of all trades and master of none kind of situation. This card is very good at, good at everything, not particularly exceptional at everything. Now, the one thing I do want to touch on, guys, which you guys have seen now a couple of times, is his set pieces. His set pieces, particularly his corners, and of course his free kicks are decent, but particularly his corner delivery is bang on the money. It's one of the most accurate corners I've seen this year. It's up there with Vincenzo Griffo's corners, which were very loopy, but this WASS card puts it at a little lower trajectory, which means that the ball's a little more fizzed and you're able to get more powerful headers off on it as well. His passing range is pretty decent, guys. You guys will just see general clips again of his defending, his capability in there. And I played him, of course, in the DM spot and gave him a shadow just to make him a bit more of a defensive specialist. But you guys have seen now in a few of the clips, his passing is pretty reasonable in how he's able to pick out the ball and play lovely passes to his teammates to create those easy chances as well and create goal scoring opportunities. Overall, guys, I think you do need to play someone a bit stronger next to him as well in terms of defensive capability. I do think this card can be a very good go-between in terms of transitional player, very similar in a way in terms of playstyle to that Curtis Jones and what he's able to do, or that Wayne Rooney. Of course, nowhere near those two guys in terms of their level, but in terms of what you want this card to do, I think that's kind of where you see this card playing, or where I certainly see this card playing the best of his game at. In the 2 goals he scored, 2 long-range efforts from him, nothing else. But of course he does have that long shot taker trait, so it's nice to have that trait to be able to ping off these shots. This one was a lovely one into the top corner of the net. Getting into this final Daniel WASS summary now, guys. 150k on the PlayStation, 119 on the Xbox, 172 on the PC. And overall, guys, I think this card's stats are pretty well rounded, as I mentioned before. I do think with the boost that you'll start to see a lot more of these in dark green, and that really does add to the benefits of this card in that he'll be such a well-rounded player. Do I think he is one of those players in the mold of, say, a Hullet, of course, at a much cheaper price? Guys, I think he lacks too much in terms of just his overall ability to be considered as part of that group. I do think that from last week as well, we had that Pierre Lesmelu. That card is better than this card in terms of overall capability and size and power. But however, this card is still okay. I just don't think he justifies the 150k price tag. Getting into the chemistry style, guys, the one I would recommend that you guys look at. Now, I did actually put a shadow on him originally. That's what it does to his pace and defending. Especially if you're going to play him deep in that role, I would say that's probably the best way to go. If you're going to play him in a central midfield role with another midfielder next to him to help him out defensively, an engine may be the best way to go with this card, just to really help out his passing, his pace and his agility. Overall, I think that he plays really well in general with that chemistry style or the shadow. But guys, again, I do think this card doesn't play quite to the level that he is currently at. I think this card has a fair bit to drop before he is worth it. In terms of similar players, guys, this Delaney's come up, Guendouzi's come up as well. I again think he's very similar to this in terms of playstyle to this Pierre Lesmelu. Plays very similarly in terms of just being able to do all parts of the game. Lesmelu, of course, a little slower and less defensively adept, but overall I think this WASS is not as good attacking wise. Doesn't offer as much, especially in terms of size as well. He doesn't offer that size factor, although he is only 5'11". Doesn't quite offer that physicality that some of these other players on this list do offer. Maybe sort of similar in terms of output capabilities to Leroy Fer, but again, I think this Fer has a physicality factor to him, which really does put him a level above this Daniel WASS. In terms of the linkability, guys, you've of course got no perfect links, but strong links to all of the Danish icons here. Links to, of course, all the Valencia players in Gonzalo Guedes, Jose Luis Gaya, Carlos Soler as well as Gabriel Paulista. You've got a nice bunch of links in there, and weak links as well across, of course, all of the La Liga players. You do, of course, get a couple of links to interesting players across other leagues as well. When you get further down this list, you will be able to link those guys in too. However, I would say that the card's linkability overall isn't great either, so you do need to factor that in. We won't be comparing the price again, guys, because the market is, again, still very volatile. We'll start doing price comparisons from the reviews tomorrow and after the weekly review. Overall, guys, would I say this card is worth that price tag? No. 150k is still too high for me. I think it needs to come down to about 125, 130k before this card really is worth it. Of course, with the boost, guys, he will be a very good card. I still don't think he's a top level card in terms of being that all-around midfielder. For example, if we look at someone, say, like the Flashback Cruz, I think the Flashback Cruz offers a lot more just in general terms of being a central midfielder than this Daniel WASS does. This Daniel WASS feels like a jack of all trades but master of none, and I would rather have a specialist in a position like that rather than having a player that can do it all at a decent level. Overall, guys, I would say if that price does drop, though, he will certainly be worth it. And if you're looking to put together a decent La Liga team and need someone just to fill that gap between the transitional play in defense midfield and the attacking players, then this is the player to do it for you. Hope you guys did enjoy this review. If you did, please do smash that like button. Until next time, I will see you all in a bit.